Hi everyone, I'm JD from Willow Band Journals. Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to share with you some ideas of pages you can use in your journals. So I love that with junk journals, anything goes, and creative handmade journals, you can put your own types of pages in there. They don't all have to be the same blank pages. They all don't have to be the same as each other. You can put any type of page in there that you want. So I'll just give you an example. If you've never seen what this type of journal looks like, it has a whole variety of different types of pages. So no plain white pages, all different ones throughout. So love how unique they are. When I discovered junk journals, what I loved most about them was how each of the pages was interesting already without the writing on them and without the ephemera and the photos on them. The pages were still already beautiful and interesting just as they were. And here's an example of how you use one, because I get lots of questions, like people see them when they're made and like, but how do you actually use it? So here's an example, all different types of pages, and this is how I've journaled on top of a variety of different pages. So if you are wanting to make your own journals, you don't know where to start, or you're just not sure what types of pages you can use, hopefully this video will give you a whole bunch of ideas and help you to look at the things around you in new ways, with new eyes, because you can just use so many different items, everyday items as well, free items, and fun items, as you can see here. So here's just a sampling, an example of some items here, and then I'll go through them individually one by one and show you what you can use. So we'll start with the most basic paper type that most people would have in their house anyway. It is just the plain white copy paper that you use for printing. And do not be afraid of just using plain white pages. I know I said that I loved using a variety of pages and how that they're interesting like that, but when it comes to creative journaling, here's an example of a journal that I made where every single page is just white copy paper. And look what you can add to white paper. I actually really love just using plain white paper because it's a blank canvas that you can then decorate and journal on however you would like. So white paper, if that's all you have, you can still create spectacular journals just with white paper. You can also use different colored papers, same copy papers. 80 GSM is what I use, and A4 size here in Australia, the standard size that you just get. And you can use all different types of colored papers. I have made some rainbow journals. I'll try to give examples as we go through this. So here I have used all colored types of paper for this one as my writing pages. So beautiful. You can definitely make themed journals. If you're making a blue journal, for example, you can use all blue pages. For example, here, this one I've used mostly blue pages interspersed with a few white types of pages. So yes, if this is all you have, that is okay. You can still create amazing journals with that. You can also coffee dye them. So coffee dye pages are pretty much probably my favorite page to use when it comes to this type of paper, because it just transforms it. Look at that. And you can coffee dye any type of page too, by the way. So I'll give you some other ideas of other pages you can use. So instead of just using blank paper, you can then start to use lined paper, grid paper, graph paper, the dot paper, bullet journal type of paper. And I get these from paper pads and especially exercise books. You know, those school exercise books, you can get them in different sizes too. And I often look for them at op shops. Otherwise, stationery shops have them as well. And you can coffee dye those. Most of the other pages that I'll mention in this video, you can also coffee dye as well. So colouring in pages, book pages, doilies, envelopes. So just keep that in mind that you can definitely coffee dye other pages too. But we'll move on to the next kind of category similar to this. So when I'm at op shops, I'm also looking for any note papers, letter writing paper, diaries, planners, agendas, bullet journals, that kind of thing. Anything that has that type of blank page, but there might be some interest to it. So they might have some lines on it, they might have some decorative flourishes. Obviously, if it's a birthday book or a dress book, they'll have that kind of information on the page too, but there's blank spaces as well. Telephone books, that type of thing, where it has the A, B, C for the surnames, and you can write in the people's names and their telephone numbers. Well, that's pretty old school now, but anyway. But you can get all different types of paper pads, notebooks, diaries, and that makes great, interesting pages as well to break up the plain blank type of paper with something decorative and more maybe pretty, with some flowers, or some just the way it's set out with the lines are on the page and the design. It will bring to life your pages with all of the different elements on those pages. So I'll just go over that list. You can look for notepads, exercise books, paper pads, notebooks, sketchbooks and visual diaries as well. So you can see this one still has the rings type of thing, where the rings were, and that can, you can cut that off if you want, but it kind of looks kind of cool, where just another bit of interest, and you can see through to the next page like so. And I've got black paper here too. Don't be afraid to use black paper or Kraft paper. Kraft paper is great as well. And you can get the white paper too, or cream. So visual diaries, sketchbooks, they're wonderful to use as well. Yeah, diaries, planners, bullet journals, address books, birthday books, and your telephone books, those types of things. So op shops are a great place to look for those. Unused diaries, sometimes you get them brand new. If there's a bit of writing at the front or scattered throughout the pages, all I do is rip those ones out and use the leftover pages. Even my own diaries that I've had that I didn't finish, I just ripped out all of the back pages and used those in my journals as well. Alright, so another idea that I don't have an example of, but I'll just throw it in this category because you can look for these at op shops too. Calendar pages. So again, that's kind of got a different layout with the boxes that you can still write on, and depending on the calendar, they've got different designs. Some of them just have the lines, and some of them have beautiful images on the top or on the other side of the boxes. One of my favorite supplies for junk journals are paper bags. So these can be used as pages, but also for pockets, of course. But I love using these to create interactive elements in the journal. So with these, all I do is literally just fold them in half, and then you have a side pocket here, cut this down there, and a side pocket there, or you can cut it at the top, so it's a top loading pocket. And as you can see here, I've got different sizes. I've got Kraft, I've got white background, mushroom bags from the grocery store. These are always fun. Paper lunch bags, glassine bags, and then think outside the box too. It's so fun to reuse bags that you get when you're out and about shopping, at the newsagent or the post office, and whenever they ask, oh, would you like a bag with that? Now I say yes, so that I can salvage the bag and use them in my journals. And you can use all different sizes. This one, it was a giant bag, so I cut it off here. If I can open that up, and I can stitch across there, and then it's a top loading pocket in my journal. So fun. Got a Krispy Kreme here. So keep all your bags. So fun. You can even make an entire journal just using paper bags as your pages, which I love to do once a year. I go the whole year and collect as many bags as I can get, all of different varieties, different sizes, different colors, different patterns, different designs, and then I love making a paper bag journal and then just filling up all the pockets with goodies. Another one of my favorite items to use in journals as pages is envelopes, and this is another one that most people would have around the home, something like this. This makes wonderful pages. You can just fold it in half, cut off the flap, and then you have top loading pockets there, or you can cut it down here and here, so that this is the front page and that is the back page of the envelope, which is so fun. If you have smaller envelopes, you can bind them in so that the flap is on one side and the pocket is on the other, and you could keep that flap like that, or you could attach another page to that, or maybe even another envelope, so that on the other side of the signature you have 2 envelopes and 2 pockets. So that's a way you can use smaller envelopes in the journal as well. You could of course open that one up too, cut it along here and along here, and then you have a cool shaped page here and this page with a flap on this side. I've got these types of envelopes. People usually have these in their homes as well, this kind of size. That could be a page there. I could cut that there, or cut along the top depending on where I want my pockets. And this is a large size, just to show you can do all different sizes. And if I wanted, I could cut that in half and then fold that in half again to create my page. Of course, you've got your junk mail envelopes or your just normal mail envelopes that come in the mail. So I like to salvage those and use those in journals too. It gives a really interesting look to the journal. I've got these types of envelopes. These are a bit prettier. I got these from op shops, so I like to look around for whatever I can find. I've got a gold metallic one and this beautiful pearl type of paper. And then another idea, when you get your photos printed, or if you get your photos printed, you can use this envelope too, the photo envelope, which is quite fun. Here's just another example that I've got here of another envelope. I've already cut off the top, and you can fold that in half or open it up. So envelopes are a wonderful, wonderful way to add interactivity to your journals as well. And while I'm here, I should mention, because I don't have examples of this, but you can also get this type of paper, all your novelty types of papers. So parchment papers, you've got your decorative papers that you can get at stationery shops, that type of wedding invitation type of paper. You can get things like calligraphy paper, parchment, I already said parchment, linen paper, linen rag paper, handmade paper. All these novelty types of papers are wonderful as well. They give different textures, even if you had all the same coloured paper, but different types. So handmade, linen, parchment, marble, pearlescent, metallic. You could have all the same colour, let's say white or cream, but because they're all slightly made differently and have a different texture and a different look to them, that makes a wonderful journal as well. So there's another idea. They don't all have to have fancy patterns or designs on them. It can just be about the texture sometimes, which I love, that variety. Of course, another option is scrapbook paper. Lots of us love our scrapbook papers. It can be a bit expensive though, so that's why I love looking in op shops and love upcycling and repurposing different papers and different like bags and envelopes, and giving them new life. I find that very interesting and fascinating to be able to do that. But of course, scrapbook papers can be very pretty, and you can definitely use these in your journals. If I had the funds, I would use scrapbook paper all the time in every single one of my journals. I would love using scrapbook paper because you can get scrapbook paper in all different designs for any theme, vintage, floral, French, those are my favorites. Birds, butterflies, beach, ocean. So I would go to town with scrapbook papers if I could. So definitely that is an option for you, scrapbook paper. Another page idea is magazine pages, and I've got Daphne's Diary, my favorite magazine, in front of me. And I have made plenty of Daphne's Diary journals and used the covers for the cover of the journal and used the pages for the pages of the journal. So I'll give you a little flip through of this magazine, and then I'll show you an example of a Daphne's Diary that I made for myself using Daphne's Diary pages inside. Aren't they just beautiful? So spectacular. So you can definitely get a lot of use out of magazines. Again, you can find them at op shops or of course news agencies, and because magazines, there's just so many pages, you'll get a lot of use out of those. I find that paper pads, you don't get too many. Like sometimes you only get 12 in a paper pad, whereas here you get so many more than just 12. So I find that a bit more of a cost-effective solution. So magazine pages, you can find all different magazines or different themes, you know, gardening magazines, interior design, so crafty ones. I know lots of people like Flow magazine and Frankie, so some options there for you if you want to go to the newsagent one day and just see what you can find. So another one of my favorite supplies to use, doilies. I absolutely love doilies, not just for making pages, but for craft, art, collage, decoration, embellishing, all that kind of thing. So I've got a whole bunch of different doilies here. Got some gold ones. You can get different coloured doilies, all different colours. You can get different sizes, different designs. This one has some roses there. Got some small ones here, and then just showing you, you know, they increase up in size and the different designs that there are. And over here, and all I do with these, with the bigger ones anyway, is, all right, we'll just leave it there, fold them in half, and they make wonderful pages in a journal. And I love that you can see through to the next page. You can get square ones, you can get heart-shaped ones, you can get rectangle ones, which I've got here. These ones I love because they kind of look more traditionally like a page with that shape, like that. And I'll just cut that down there maybe for a journal. And it's so beautiful. It kind of looks like paper lace in your journal. But the round ones are fun too because it breaks up, you know, all of the pages being rectangle. It gives that round edge and looks so lovely. And different size doilies for different size journals. Another thing I look for in op shops are colouring in book pages, or colouring in books, so I can rip out the pages. And these ones I've coffee dyed. And you can see they came up really nicely. These ones have quotes on the back, and yeah, colouring in pages are wonderful too. They just give a whole different look to the page as well. I've used them just plain white as well without the coffee dyeing. Either works, so these are wonderful. I especially love the ones that have the florals or the birds. I know you can get other ones that have more geometric patterns or animals, people. But yeah, these ones are the ones that I look for. I especially love the secret garden ones. Those ones are really beautiful. Or the magical garden, what's it called? The enchanted garden? Not sure what it's called. But yeah, the adult colouring books or the children's colouring books both work well in journals. One of my favourite types of pages to use in journals is vintage music paper, or any music paper. I just love the use of the music notes and the bars. You can also get the plain, just the without the notes. I'm not sure what that's called, just with the plain sheet music without the notes. That's really fun to use as well. But this is great because you can actually match it up to the theme of your journal if you want. So if I was making like a ballet journal or a Sleeping Beauty journal, I could use this in that. I love this one. It says the artist's life or an artist's life. Swan Lake for ballet. So just some pages that I've gathered from various books. These ones are cute with the little illustrations. You can get some really cute ones that have lovely images on them and decorative elements. So music paper, love using music paper. It's one of those ones that I would always put in a journal along with envelopes, doilies, and bags. This is wonderful. So now that we're talking about the vintage papers, let me just share this one as well. This is piano paper. You might not have heard of this one. I never knew this existed until I discovered the World of Junk journals. But it's from Pianola rolls, and I found some in a vintage or antique place, and they can be a little tricky to find, but there's a whole roll of this paper, and I just cut them down into A4 sized sheets, and then I fold them in half, and sometimes I back them onto copy paper and then sew around the edges, just because it is a bit flimsy, but I've also just used it as pages like this as well. So that's a wonderful vintage page to use. My favorite vintage paper to use is vintage ledger. I absolutely adore vintage ledger paper. This is the pinnacle, my absolute favorite of the papers to use. And you can get different colors, different line styles and designs. So fun to mix and match these in a journal. In fact, that's what I did. I'll give you an example with this journal that I made myself. And I've used a mixture of coffee dye, because that's my other favorite, with the ledger. So very simple journal, but just using my absolute favorite pages for this one. Another fun paper I love using, you can hardly see it, is vellum. Vellum or tracing paper or baking paper, just because I love that it's transparent, or sort of transparent. You can kind of see through it. Let me sort of give an example. It's a bit hard to see, isn't it? You can see through it to the next page. I absolutely love that. It's a different texture, different look in the journal. I love the sound it makes. So yeah, vellum, tracing paper, baking paper, glassine paper. Wonderful, wonderful. This is one of the staples that I'll always use in journals as well. This is a fun one to use. So when I go to op shops, I look for these pattern pouches, and often I use the pouch itself as a journal cover, but you could definitely use the pouch as a page in a journal. Just cut it down here, and that can be the first page, and there's the second page there. And then you have all of these goodies inside, and I love using these pattern pages as pages in a journal as well. Aren't they wonderful? I love that they have illustrations and different instructions and things, so it really gives the journal a different look too, and have that sort of vintage vibe to them as well. You could definitely use some of the tissue paper in the journal as well. You might want to reinforce it down there with some masking tape or washi tape. But aren't they beautiful? I love using these. And along the similar line, well, I've got you here with these ones. Other tissue papers you can use. And wrapping paper is another one you could use. So this one's a bit thicker, like that. Another fun idea is to use fabric or lace, hankies, doilies, and linens. Embroidered linens are really nice. So you can literally just open it up and treat it like a page, and maybe I would want to have my fold here and bind that into the journal as a signature, as a page in a signature. These ones I have done in the past. I cut them in half, and this was one side of the page. Open it up, there's the other side. Isn't that beautiful? I did the same with this one, and here's just another example of a hanky that you could use. This is beautiful too, so gorgeous. Love these. And here's just a piece of lace to show you could use lace as well as a page in a journal. Again, that just gives it some texture and a different look. If you have some beautiful fabric that you love, you could bind that fabric into your journal as well. Before we get on to the last page idea I have, you can also use photo album pockets. So I don't have an example of that, but when you go into op shops again, that's where I look for them. You can get photo albums, and depending on the type, there's the one where it has a pocket here and a pocket there. You can fold that in half and then slip in something into those pockets. Not sure if that makes sense. Just have a look for photo albums, and you'll figure out a way, depending on the photo album, if it's possible to fold it and be able to use that as a page in a journal. So just keep that in your mind, photo albums. All right, so the last idea, of course, is the humble book page. Of course, you might have some books around your house that you might want to use, or go to the op shop or secondhand bookshops. These are the best. First of all, an idea is to use the end papers of books. I love using end papers. For me, I actually really do just like using blank paper for my journals, and being able to write on them and cover them however I want. But I like using something more fancy than just copy paper, and to know that it came from an actual book. As a journaler, as a writer, as a reader, as a book lover, for me, book pages, using books to make my journals, that's like the ultimate. That's a match made in heaven. So I love repurposing books and using those for pages. Now I've got a whole bunch of examples of different book pages you can use, and I'm going to do a whole separate video on types of book pages you can use and what books I look for, because that could be its own whole long topic. But just as a quick example here, Edith Holden book pages are beautiful, botanical pages. Oh, I've got some music paper here too, some bird papers. We've got dictionary papers, illustrated dictionary and encyclopedia pages are wonderful to use. Poetry pages, vintage readers, grammar books, I love using those as well. Plays, Shakespeare, that kind of stuff. Alice in Wonderland, I've got some pet books that I love using. Alice in Wonderland is one of them, and The Secret Garden is another. So I've got some Alice pages and some Secret Garden pages. I especially love the cream pages where there's illustrations on there too. But I just absolutely love like Greek mythology pages too. I've got some vintage pages like that. My favorite are to use the vintage pages as well as the beautiful illustrated pages. Children's book pages, Winnie the Pooh, Beatrix Potter, they're the ones that I like to use as well. Snugglepot and Cuddlepie, the Gumnut Babies, they're really cute to use as well. Recipe pages, love recipe pages because it gives the page a different look as well. Children's book pages, illustrated book pages, again, these are wonderful. I've got an example here of that. And these are some Disney pages, got some more Alice in Wonderland pages here. Really lovely. I do have some paper packs with a variety of everything that I've shared here in this video, and those paper packs in my Etsy if you're interested, with a lot of different book pages and vintage pages in that too. So if you wanted a sampling of what I like to use and what I look for, you can definitely check that out. Otherwise, I hope that this video was really helpful in helping you to look around you and see what you've already got, and to find pages that are interesting, interactive, different colors, textures, designs, so that you can make your own beautiful journals. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them down in the comments. Let me know what your favorite type of paper is to use in your journals. And if you have any other ideas, I'm sure there are tons more ideas to use. If you learned a new idea in this video, I'd love to hear that too. But yeah, when you're coming to put together your journals, maybe you want to have a checklist of different papers you can use, because sometimes I forget. It's like, oh yeah, I can use a doily. Oh yeah, bag or fabric. I can use an envelope, and I can forget sometimes if I get just stuck in the mode of using book pages or plain paper, and it can be helpful just to remember what other types of pages you can use in there. Sometimes I give myself the challenge where every single page I put into the journal is a different type of paper, so that's quite fun. Others, you know, I just use the same types of pages for throughout the journal. So yeah, there's so many different ways to make journals. I hope you have fun making your own at home, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys. A big thank you to my beautiful patrons who supported me in November. I hope you absolutely loved all of the extras this month. And if you would like to support me in December and get access to extra videos and printables, behind the scenes updates, and first access to any of my creations, the link is down below in the description box. The links are also down there to all of my journaling courses. The Reflections journaling course is running all through December if you would like to document your year for 2022. And if you would like to support my book fundraiser, the link is there to my GoFundMe page as well.